Have you ever wondered why you can repeat affirmations, visualize with all your strength, practice countless manifestation techniques, and still feel like nothing changes? Have you questioned why reality seems deaf to your words, even when you speak them with hope? What if reality is not ignoring you at all? What if it has always been listening, but waiting for you to speak from the only place it truly responds to? You don't need another ritual. You don't need another step-by-step method. What you truly need is to uncover the exact point where creation begins to obey you. And that point is not in your thoughts, nor in your desires. It is in the verb, the living vibration of the word that leaves your mouth when spoken from the right center of your being. When you speak from that center, reality itself reshapes. This is the forgotten secret. Most words create nothing because they lack vibration. They are empty, repeated without belief, without alignment. But when the vibration in your speech shifts, when it resonates with your essence, that simple adjustment carries power enough to open paths, part seas, and awaken the field where the impossible becomes inevitable. This truth has been hidden for centuries, covered by noise, buried under repetition, mocked, and forgotten. If you are hearing it now, it is not coincidence. It is because you are ready. The verb has called you back. You did not press play on this by chance. Something deeper than curiosity about manifestation is alive in this moment. As you listen, there is a living force moving through you, recognizing you, stirring you. It does not scream. It whispers. It does not knock politely at your door. It flows through walls, through memories, through blockages you thought were permanent. It reaches you exactly at the moment your soul chooses to rise from autopilot and say, living halfway is no longer enough. This presence is not tied to formulas. It is not sold as a product, and it does not belong to shallow promises. It is older, deeper, and real. Before it was a name, it was sound. Before sound, it was intention. Before intention, it was verb. And this verb is not metaphor. It is not poetry. It is a creative frequency, alive in you even now. It vibrates even in silence. It moves even when you think you are lost. It breathes even when you feel everything is stuck. The original verb is the frequency that shapes reality, not through pretty phrases or memorized mantras, but through the vibration that rises from your consciousness, flows through your body, and enters the world not just in what you say, but in what you are. But humanity forgot. Over time, this force was silenced. It was drained of meaning, mocked, distorted, buried under endless noise. Words were spoken carelessly. Language became automatic. Affirmations were repeated without belief. Phrases were spoken without roots. And the verb retreated, waiting to be remembered. That is why so many people try endlessly. Rituals, visualizations, prayers, and still feel blocked. Because the verb awakens only when vibration aligns with essence. This cannot be taught from outside. It must be remembered from within. You have already felt it. You felt it when everything around you seemed to collapse, but something inside refused to give up. You felt it in the silence that suddenly appeared in the middle of chaos, whispering, "It's not over." That was the verb, waiting, waiting for space to act. Why did it wait? Because for centuries people were taught not to trust themselves, not to trust their vibration. They were told to silence their feelings, to obey, to repeat truths that were not their own. They were given words before they even knew themselves, labels, commands, identities. They were told they were fragile, that they must follow rules, that they must chase outside what had always been within. They believed, not out of weakness, but because it was the only language given to them. And those words became molds. Molds hardened into identities. Identities built walls between them and the creative force inside. Small words shaped their lives without being noticed. I can't. I'm not enough. That's not for me. This is just who I am. Simple phrases, but they carried weight like invisible decrees, bending reality around them. Because language has power, but the true power is not in the words you repeat. It is in the words you believe. What you believe, you manifest. If you lived stories of limitation, it is because you absorbed words that were never yours. From those words, a false self was born, a character built from borrowed phrases, desperate to please, afraid to fail, repeating patterns without knowing why. This false self vibrates in survival, not creation. The more you identify with it, the more distant you feel from your true source. Yet the wall between you and that power is not real. It is only made of words you absorbed without questioning, words you accepted as law. And still, something in you resisted. Something inside never surrendered. Something within has always remembered. Before form, before sound, before names, there was vibration, pure consciousness, a silent, timeless field of intention. From that field, creation unfolded, not as accident, but as expression, not as chaos, but as revelation. A primordial sound, a verb. That verb did not just create the universe, it became the universe. And you were not placed here as a stranger. You were born of the same vibration that formed stars, oceans, and constellations. Your atoms follow its rhythm. Your body carries its geometry. Your soul echoes with its sound. This is why, even in your most disconnected moments, you feel there is more. This is why you sense a forgotten memory inside you. This is why your heart longs for something greater. That is the verb calling. And now it has found you. And once it finds you, it does not stop until you remember. There is a pulse inside you that never stopped, a living vibration, untouched, unbroken, that carries your origin. It has never been corrupted. It has always remembered who you truly are. And now, after being hidden for so long, that vibration is ready to rise and reveal itself. But before you even knew what words meant, something else began weaving into you. A subtle sabotage, quiet but powerful. You were programmed not to create. It began so early that you didn't even notice it. The voices around you, voices of those who raised you, voices that thought they were protecting you, were filled with fear, shame, and limitation. Those voices did not program you through logic or reason. They reached you through frequency. You absorbed them through vibration. The first vibration you were taught was guilt. You didn't earn it. You didn't do anything wrong. Yet you were made to feel that who you were was not enough. You were taught that wanting more was selfish, that shining too brightly was dangerous, that feeling deeply was too much. And slowly, the spark of creation within you was smothered. You were trained to hold back, to shrink, to apologize for wanting. It didn't happen all at once. It happened little by little, through words, through looks, through silence when you needed encouragement, through comparisons that cut into your spirit. Over time, you internalized the belief that creating, manifesting, and desiring something greater was arrogance. You began to think that freedom, love, abundance, and joy were for others, but not for you. That to desire deeply was to challenge the divine, that humility meant suffering. And so you started sabotaging yourself, not from a lack of will, but from a vibration buried deep inside you. You would feel desire rise, but almost instantly it was shadowed by shame, by comparison, by doubt. This is the cruel cycle. Your conscious words say yes, but your vibration whispers no. The universe doesn't listen to the surface. It listens to the deeper frequency. There is an even deeper layer still. The program that makes you apologize for existing. You walk into rooms already seeking permission. You feel like a burden. You believe you take up too much space. You look for ways to justify yourself. This is not just shyness. It is the vibration of guilt at your very core. And as long as that guilt vibrates within you, your reality shapes itself to confirm it. You experience situations, people, and reflections that keep telling you you're unworthy, that you don't belong, that you're not enough. This is how scarcity and self-doubt are reinforced. No matter how many rituals, affirmations, or techniques you practice, nothing holds if the root vibration is poisoned, because the word grows only as strong as the soil it springs from. But here is the truth. This is not your essence. This is not who you are. This was installed in you. It was passed down, inherited, copied. You were taught to vibrate limitation because you were surrounded by those who carried it themselves. Parents who thought fear was love. Teachers who didn't understand the power of words. Leaders who confused obedience with devotion. Religions that made spirituality into fear. This was a system, and you were born into it. But the system has a root, a single point where the distortion began. And that point is not in the mind. It is in the subtle field, the space where emotions harden into patterns, where belief turns into reality. Unless this root is undone, you will keep desiring with your heart, but sabotaging with your frequency. You felt this. Every time you near a breakthrough, your body tenses. Something inside you tightens. Fear rises disguised as caution. Hesitation whispers, it's not the right time. You step back, convinced you aren't ready. But you were ready. What you couldn't yet do was hold the new frequency. The block was never in your actions. It has always been in your vibration. A vibration contaminated by the ancient lie that manifesting is wrong, that creation is prideful, that power is rebellion against God. But the truth is the opposite. To manifest is the holiest way of honoring the divine within you. And hidden inside the very culture that programmed you, there was always a secret code. Mocked, disguised, buried, but never destroyed. A code strong enough to unravel the entire structure of sabotage. That code is about to rise again. Abracadabra. You know the word. You have laughed at it. You have seen it in tricks, in cartoons, in children's games. But beneath the mockery lies one of the most sacred codes in the history of humanity. It comes from Aramaic, and its meaning is simple, direct, and alive. I create as I speak. This is not a poetic saying. This is a living equation, a vibrational law, a reminder that your word is not just sound. Your word is the bridge between intention and reality. But if this word was so sacred, why did it become a joke? Because true power is best hidden not by banning it, but by ridiculing it. If people laugh at it, they will never use it seriously. And so the word was left in plain sight. While the world laughed, the initiated used it in sacred rituals, in healing, in ceremonies. They knew sound creates form. They knew every word carries geometry, and every geometry vibrates with a frequency that shapes matter. But here is the secret. Abracadabra only works when your vibration is aligned. It does not respond to careless repetition. It does not obey casual use. It requires presence. It requires integrity. It requires coherence. Because the universe does not read your mouth. It reads your vibration. This is why affirmations often fail. You may say, I am free, but your body is tense. You may say, I trust, but your heart is closed. You may say, I am ready, but your field vibrates doubt. And so the word dies the moment it leaves your mouth. Not every word is creative. Not every sound crosses the bridge between the invisible and the visible. For a word to carry power, it must rise from alignment. Thought, feeling, body, presence, all moving together, vibrating as one. When one part is fractured, the word collapses. This is why there are people who speak very little, but when they do, the whole room shifts. Their words cut through silence and settle in your bones. It is not the phrase itself, it is the vibration behind it. Presence carries the power. Vibration gives the word weight. Your word can carry this same power. But first you must look at where your words come from. Do they rise from fear, from need, from the desire to be accepted? Or do they rise from stillness, from strength, from truth? The answer is not in the words you choose, but in how your body feels when you speak them. If you tighten, if you shrink, if you close, the word is born from sabotage. But if you open, if you breathe deeply, if you feel steady, the word is born from alignment. The real work begins not with speaking, but with listening. Listening to your own vibration. Listening to the quiet signals of your body. Listening to the energy beneath your words. Because vibration speaks first, and sound only follows. And when your vibration is pure, your word becomes command. And when your word becomes command, it shapes reality. When you begin to realize that words are not just tools to push something outside of you, but are instead the unfolding of what already exists within you, something shifts. It feels small at first, but it changes everything. From that moment on, words stop being a desperate attempt to explain, convince, or reach, and they become pure expressions of your inner state. This is the moment when speech turns into a bridge, carrying what is invisible within you into the physical world. Yet this bridge can only hold if the words are born from the right place inside you. When the inner foundation is misaligned, speech becomes empty. This is where most people unknowingly lose their power, repeating words that never carry the full vibration of their being. The ancient alchemists understood this truth and trained for it. They called this practice impeccability, the discipline of the verb. Many confuse impeccability with perfection, thinking it means flawless speech, proper words, or moral correctness. But impeccability is not about morality. It is about coherence. It is about your words being in full alignment with your thoughts, your feelings, and your vibration. When you say one thing but feel another, the vibration fractures. That fracture becomes a crack through which energy leaks, weakening your words until they carry no force. The universe does not respond to words themselves, but to the vibration that holds them. This is why affirmations so often fail. A person may repeat, "I am abundant," every morning, paste it on mirrors, and fill notebooks with the phrase. But if they secretly carry shame for wanting more, fear of lack, or guilt for desiring abundance, then their words contradict their vibration. The universe does not hear the statement, it hears the field of energy behind it. And when the field is filled with contradiction, the affirmation becomes powerless. Worse, every careless phrase, every doubtful statement, every self-deprecating joke, every complaint, those words all act as reverse codes. They don't just vanish into the air. They shape reality according to the vibration that carries them. The person may think they're joking when they say, "Nothing ever works for me," or "I'm always unlucky." But the universe does not understand humor or tone. It understands coherence. And coherence says, this person believes in failure, in lack, in being cursed. And reality mirrors that belief. The forgotten training of the alchemists was to purify this. They knew words were not casual. They never approached speech unprepared. Before speaking, they would enter silence, breathe with awareness, align the body, and ground themselves. They understood that words do not begin in the mouth. Words are born at the core of being. To be impeccable with your word is not to dress it in beauty or polish. It is to refuse to betray yourself with speech. It is the decision to no longer use words as weapons against yourself, to no longer vent frustration, fear, or shame through careless language. It is the choice to only speak what you can sustain vibrationally. Nothing more, nothing less. Impeccability doesn't mean sounding eloquent. It means being true. It means that even silence becomes powerful because it is intentional. Because it becomes alive with presence. Even what you don't say carries a vibration of creation because your field is clear. The moment you know you've broken the destructive cycle is when you face a hard situation, and instead of spilling the automatic complaint, you breathe. You pause. You either shift your language into awareness, saying to yourself, "This is here to teach me something," or you say nothing at all. That silence is not weakness. It is impeccability. It is the refusal to reinforce old cycles with careless words. It is not sainthood. It is awareness. And awareness is alignment. When this awareness stabilizes, something remarkable happens. Your words begin to carry weight again. They no longer dissolve into the air. They shape reality. They carry power not because of magic tricks or rituals, but because your vibration has become whole. The universe responds not to language, but to coherence. And coherence has force. But to keep this state alive, something deeper must awaken. The true channel of the word is not the mind or the throat. It is the heart. The mind organizes thought. The throat projects sound. But the heart is what makes the word alive. The heart is the most powerful electromagnetic center in the body. Science confirms what mystics already knew. The energy field of the heart is vast and strong, extending beyond your physical body. influencing the environment and those around you. When words pass through the heart before being spoken, they carry a force that no mental intention can match. This is why some words strike us so deeply. They are not just heard by the ears, they are felt in the chest. They bypass the brain's logic and land directly in the heart. You don't analyze them, you recognize them. These are words born from coherence. They don't try to convince. They don't seek approval. They simply reveal. That is why they are powerful. They are truth vibrating into form. Speaking from the heart is not impulsive. It is not blurting out raw emotion. It is conscious surrender. It is allowing your deepest being to rise through you, flow through the body, and manifest as sound. When that happens, the atmosphere shifts. Your chest expands. Your breathing deepens. Your pace slows. Your silence becomes part of the message. The words no longer inform. They transform. They no longer argue. They reveal. They no longer beg. They simply exist. And in existing, they create. But if the heart is closed, contracted by wounds, hardened by fear, weighed down by unprocessed pain, then words scatter. Even good intentions lose power. The heart is the gateway of coherence. Without it, words lack root. They lose warmth. They lose soul. That is why so many people speak with passion but fail to create transformation. Their words never pass through the heart. They remain mental, anxious, or desperate. The heart speaks differently. It doesn't speak for convenience. It doesn't speak to win. It speaks to connect. It speaks to reveal. And when words reveal truth, they last. They plant themselves in reality. They echo in time. They ripple into the unseen. They create new pathways. When the heart awakens, words become more than sound. They become living frequencies. They act like keys, opening invisible doors. They don't vanish into air. They anchor. They don't dissolve. They heal. They don't follow the clock. They ripple across time, touching what is ready to be healed, reshaping what once felt unchangeable. When words root in the heart, something even rarer begins to rise. Quintessence. The ancients spoke of 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. But they also spoke of a 5th, hidden one: quintessence. Unlike the others, it has no form. It cannot be touched, smelled, or seen. But without it, nothing holds together. It is the invisible current binding the elements, the secret harmony weaving through creation. It is the unseen force that makes fire purposeful, water fluid, air expansive, and earth alive. It is the essence that sustains coherence between the visible and the invisible. Quintessence is not far away. It lives within you. You have touched it in rare moments of flow, when life seems to move with you, when choices feel effortless, when events align before you even plan, when you feel supported by something larger. That is quintessence. It is not luck. It is resonance. It is what happens when body, heart, mind, and spirit align in silence. Quintessence does not appear when you are urgent, desperate, or divided. It reveals itself when you are whole. The ancient alchemists were not obsessed with changing lead into gold. That was only a symbol. What they truly sought was to align themselves with quintessence. They knew that when they tuned their vibration to it, transformation would happen naturally, without effort. Words would gain weight. Actions would radiate power. Presence itself would influence reality. They didn't chase change. They became coherence, and change followed. But quintessence cannot flow through division. If you are filled with doubt, fear, guilt, or fragmented desire, the channel is blocked. Quintessence does not respond to urgency or force. It responds to authenticity, maturity, silence of intention. It is the frequency of wholeness, and when it awakens, you feel it. Words that once felt ordinary begin to vibrate with life. Actions that once required effort flow with ease. Intentions that once took years now manifest naturally. The ancients drew the tree of life to map this process. They knew that nothing is born directly into matter. Not your desires, not your blocks, not your visions. Everything begins in the invisible and descends step by step into form. At the highest level is pure light, pure potential, intention without shape. As it descends, it passes through wisdom, structure, emotion, will. It moves through subtle worlds before reaching the world of action. Only then does it become physical. Most human creations never reach that last stage. They dissolve in the middle. An inspired idea begins to flow, but doubt interrupts it. Fear stops it. Noise scatters it. The energy loses strength before it touches matter, and so it floats as an unfulfilled desire. The tree of life reveals that manifestation is not about wanting harder or working more. It is about sustaining vibration across every stage. It is about coherence through the descent. Only when each layer aligns does the invisible finally land in the visible. That alignment is not automatic. It requires awareness. It requires repetition. It requires silence, presence, and the courage to stop scattering your energy with careless words and misaligned actions. This is the forgotten art of the alchemist. The work was never about metals. It was about words. It was about vibration. It was about coherence. It was about turning life itself into gold, not by force, but by alignment. It was about becoming so impeccable with your being that everything you touch begins to transform. When words are born from coherence, when they pass through the heart, when they are carried by quintessence, and when they follow the descent of the tree of life, they stop being empty sounds. They become creation. They stop being noise. They become living bridges. They no longer try to convince the world. They shape it. They no longer struggle to be heard. They resonate. They no longer fade. They endure. And that is the secret. When your words align with your being, you no longer need to push them outward. They flow. They vibrate. They create. They live. Every manifestation comes alive only when the energy behind it is steady in every layer of your being. It isn't enough for it to be strong in your mind or spoken with passion in your words. It must stabilize in your body, your emotions, your spirit, and the unseen space around you. This stability doesn't happen on its own. It requires preparation. Just as no seed can grow in dry or crowded soil, no intention can bloom in a field filled with doubt, fear, or old fragments of pain. The field must be cleared. Only then can the seed of the word truly take root. Most people believe that manifestation is about what they say, the affirmations they repeat, the rituals they perform, or the way they speak with force. But manifestation doesn't depend on words alone. What really sustains it is the energy you carry when your mouth is closed. What you vibrate in silence tells the truth. Silence doesn't hide what you are. It exposes it. It shows what your energy holds when you are not performing, when the mind is not busy, when no one is watching. It is in those quiet spaces that the universe reads your true frequency. The universe doesn't answer your rehearsed wishes. It answers what you sustain without effort, what you radiate naturally. This is why simply wanting is not enough. You must learn to vibrate as though you already have what you seek. Most people fail here because they live as seekers instead of receivers. They say the words of conviction, but their bodies vibrate with lack. They act with intention, but in the gaps between their actions, doubt seeps in. The universe makes its truest reading not from your loudest affirmations, but from those silent in-between moments. It notices whether your energy collapses when you're alone, whether your heart trembles in hesitation when the world is still. True manifestation is not built on short bursts of faith, but on consistent vibration. It is born from a field that does not collapse with time, that does not bend with disappointment, that does not waver with every change in mood. To reach this steadiness, you need more than effort. You need surrender. You need a trust that doesn't push or beg but calmly holds. A trust that remains whole even when the visible gives no proof. A frequency that stands firm, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. This frequency is not trained by repeating words. It is trained by presence, by learning to remain aware of yourself without judgment, by observing your inner world without trying to fix or control it, by practicing the deep art of staying whole even in silence. In this way, the unseen begins to form. This is what the ancients called inner work, the quiet labor of aligning your inner field before you ever move outward. They understood that if the inner field cannot hold, the outer word cannot create. They saw the body as the first temple of manifestation. Before words can shape the world, they must take root in the body. The body is the altar where the vibration is anchored. If the body is tense, scattered, or filled with old memories, your words scatter too. But when the body is open, aligned, and at peace, the word begins to take form. This is why your body must be honored, not just as flesh and bone, but as sacred architecture. Every cell holds consciousness. Every breath bridges the invisible and visible. Every gesture sends out a signature of vibration. When your breath is conscious, your posture open, and your body free of old tensions, your words gain density. They no longer float as empty sounds. They begin to crystallize as reality. This is why the breath is more than oxygen. It is a signal to the universe that you are here, awake, alive, and ready. Breath aligns the word with the field. Breath anchors vibration into matter. Notice how your body reacts when you speak. Does it expand or contract? Does it vibrate with trust or resist with fear? The body does not lie. If the words you speak are not rooted in your body, they have no ground to hold. To manifest, you must speak from a place your body can support. Try it now. Breathe, straighten your spine. Feel the weight of your words inside your chest. Let them vibrate. Notice whether there is flow or resistance. This is not just an exercise. This is the ritual itself. For when the body and the word are aligned, Manifestation flows without effort. Reality bends to meet you. This is the alchemy the ancients recognized. They knew the method was not invented, but remembered. It was already in the human being, pulsing beneath layers of noise. You have felt it before, in those moments when everything flowed, when you spoke with such clarity and truth that reality obeyed instantly. Those moments were not luck. They were glimpses of your inner code. But the field must be cleared for this code to activate. Most manifestations fail not from lack of faith, but from contamination. Doubts, fragments of fear, memories, words you once absorbed. They linger like hidden static. These fragments weaken your vibration. They distort your signal. Your words leave with power but collide with invisible residue inside you and lose force. This is why clearing is the final preparation. Clearing begins in silence, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of watching, the silence that sees the thought before it takes root, the silence that notices the inner saboteur before it speaks, the silence that looks directly at fear and does not run. In this silence, you don't need to fight or force positivity. You simply recognize. You say inwardly, I see you. I honor you for what you protected. And now I release you. In this recognition, the old pattern dissolves. As the field clears, you feel lighter. Urgency fades. Your thoughts lose their grip. The heart expands. The body softens. The inner space becomes alive, open, ready to receive. Now when you speak, your words no longer sound like requests. They sound like commands, but not commands of pride or desperation. Commands of calm certainty. You no longer speak as someone hoping. You speak as someone who has already received. This is the power of decree. A decree is not forced. It is steady. It doesn't come from emotion on fire, but from a wholeness that is quiet and unshakable. It comes from the authority of alignment. You notice even your tone of voice changes. You don't need to shout. You don't need to push. The word doesn't come from the throat. It comes from the whole being. When you speak like this, the universe responds, not because you demanded it, but because you became it. And yet, the highest power is not even in the word. It is in silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of fullness. The silence where energy gathers. The silence where the word matures. The silence before release. Like the pause before an arrow is let go. Like the space between two musical notes that makes the melody complete. If you speak too soon, the energy scatters. If you wait in the right silence, the word strikes with perfect precision. This silence is intentional. It is not fear. It is not hesitation. It is trust. It is the womb of creation. In this silence, the word is nourished. The energy builds. The alignment deepens. When the word finally emerges from this silence, it carries unstoppable force because it is no longer yours alone. It has aligned with the universal order. The one who learns this no longer tries to manipulate reality. They align with it. They understand the word is not something they use. It is something they are. Every choice, every gesture, every breath carries creative power. They no longer need to prove, strive, or force. Their presence itself becomes proof. They live as the word. They embody it. They walk with integrity. speak with precision, remain silent with wisdom, and create with soul. This is true alchemy, not formulas, not endless affirmations, not rituals done in panic. True creation comes from clearing the field, aligning the body, breathing with presence, speaking with truth, waiting in silence, and remembering the origin. The universe doesn't respond to wants. It responds to the vibration of someone who is remembered. When you live in that memory, the word is no longer a sound. It is a vibration that travels through worlds. You don't just manifest. You become the manifestation. You don't just speak. You are the voice. You don't just breathe. You are the breath. You don't just hope. You are the fulfillment. The verb that creates has always been inside you. It is not being taught now. It is being remembered. And once remembered, it cannot be undone.